I'll call the meeting to order, and a couple of items. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Luther, for being willing to take on the vice president position on the commission. So now I can leave and she can just run it off.
That's not how this works.
You didn't tell me that, Curtis. And we're very, very excited to have a new commissioner joining us this morning, Commissioner Rukiah Adams. Yay, welcome. And we did the same thing to Sam last time. We give you no warning, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I assume some is in the public domain, so how about if I tell you things you probably don't know? In college, I was a DJ at the local radio station. I went to college in Minnesota, and my musical choice was slow jams. So the farmers would milk their cows to slow jams in the 90s that I would play from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Tuesdays.
We're going to party.
You're going to do just fine here, Commissioner.
Yes. Welcome. And I do need to call for a motion in a second to grant a leave of absence for Commissioner Lamb, who is out of town.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion and a second for approval of the minutes. Any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Curtis, good morning. It's time for your fabulous report.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners. Commissioner Adams, a joy to have you join the commission. Welcome. It's so nice to see you. I would also like to, would you folks in the new employee cohort raise your hand? Welcome. It's really great to have you all here. We just, commission officers just got a chance to say hello in the ET. You know, it's maintenance, it's police, it's HR, it's just a wide range of roles at the port. And we're just thrilled to have a bunch of new folks here from really diverse backgrounds. And, you know, I just said to the new employees, when you bring your time, it's the most valuable thing that you have. And so it's just a treat to have them here with us and appreciate the whole cohort. I would like to briefly recognize the safety champions up here. Again, for port employees from different parts of the organization, including maintenance and navigation and airside, just folks who are watching out for each other, watching out for our customers and our business partners. Want to thank them again for helping us with our safety culture and making this a place where people go home in a way better than when they arrived. Next, Christina, if you're ready, would love a safety moment for us all to be thinking about safety today.
Hello, good morning. Can you all hear me? Great.
Yes.
Good morning, President Kova and commissioners. I'm Christina Kelchner, the Chief Officer of our Development Services Division, and I'm here with today's safety message. The Development Services Division does have safety within our division, so I have the pleasure of working with our safety team. And I'll keep this quick. I know we have a busy agenda today, but June is Safety Month, National Safety Month, and with the goal of making people safer by bringing extra attention to some of our safety issues. We're actively promoting the messaging put out by the National Safety Council for this year, and which you can see on the slide ahead of you. There's a different emphasis each week, and we are promoting this in all kinds of ways. The messaging goes out to all of our managers and supervisors for them to use within their teams. We have within our internal social media, we have puzzles and prizes and ways to engage in that. And then, of course, we push out the messaging through the Port Safety Committee, our Tenant Safety Advisory Group, and our construction project teams. So for the first week, safety engagement, and this is really about battling complacency. It's perhaps, as you all know, the most challenging of the work that we do. And I really just want to commend Steve Danielson, our Director of Safety, who really has done, he and his team have done a tremendous job of working on safety culture here so that people feel safe and empowered to, when they see something, say something and really speak up and be engaged. So a shout out to Steve and his team for doing that. And the second week, we promoted messaging on roadway safety. We don't think about it a lot, but driving is in fact the most dangerous thing that all of us do. So we did messaging for that week focused on safe driving behaviors for work and at home. And then this week we'll be focusing next week on how to see hazards, how to recognize hazards and how to report those. And then slips, trips, and falls, which is a high source of injuries in all workplaces. So as we do every year in June, we are requiring all employees to do an e-learning module that we have that's narrated by our own executive director, Curtis Robinhold. It's riveting. If you haven't seen it, we can make it available. And it really reviews the Port's commitment to safety, not just as a priority, but as a guiding principle in how we deliver all of the work that we do. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate it. I did note when I was watching the video that it's now several years old, and I thought, oh, wow, maybe need to update that. I looked younger. Yeah, I had a whole head of hair. It was amazing. Commissioners, I have a ton of updates and messages for you today, and I think what I'm going to do is try to whip through them really quickly, but I'll send out to you some of the detail in these comments just because I know we got a packed agenda, and sometimes I feel like I just have one or two things, and this time I've got 14 or 15. So first, it is we're celebrating here our annual Diversity Summit at the Port. It's a chance for employees to engage around this year's theme, which is diversity in motion, really thinking about engagement and belonging, focusing in particular on opportunities for Port employees to learn and grow and engage. And so you'll note one of the events took place over the last day or two. PDX people in front of you, one of the celebrations our aviation ops team does is engage with folks in the airport, employees in the airport. There's some Pride socks and PDX people hats. Those are for you to take home and wear with pride. I know for some of you it won't quite go with your outfit today, but you can see what you can do there. You did hear from me a week ago or 2 weeks ago about T6 and our marine container service. I was able to go to Salem a week ago Friday with Keith and testify on behalf of the effort to keep the terminal open and keep operating. Governor Kotek did share with us a vision for investment in the year or two ahead, essentially a $40 million package that includes some operating dollars, some investment in dredging the Columbia, and also some capital investment. I'd say we're super encouraged by her engagement and the engagement of a number of legislative leaders on the topic. We'll keep you posted. Two big steps ahead are, one, the emergency board this fall. We're hoping to get $5 million in operating dollars. And then the legislative session where these two bonding buckets for both dredging and capital investment at T6 will be on the docket, and we'll hopefully get those over the line. In that same, theme is that we announced over the last week that Keith is going to be leaving us after 25 years at the Port. He is 32 years of public service. He has been exceptional for us. He and I have had a lot of fun taking on some of these battles together. I think folks are tired of hearing my stories of Keith and I being stuck in Tokyo for 2 weeks in bilateral negotiations trying to get direct air service back. And by the end of the time, we were like an old married couple sort of walking around, what should we do today? But Keith has been incredible. And there really isn't, in my time at the Port, a story or a big initiative where Keith wasn't integral into leadership, engagement, partnership. And so we're going to miss him, but we'll have lots of time to celebrate him later this summer. He'll be leaving after Labor Day. I said I'd be quick. Lots of news at PDX. As you know, the Workplace Initiative at PDX includes an effort to really engage in the most vulnerable employees on site with employee retention program, minimum wage standards, paid time off standards, and really the exciting bit that we haven't been able to tackle until now is around healthcare and commitment to supporting healthcare. So we're announcing today a new benefit, a 2-year program around healthcare for subcontracted airline service providers. Those are the ASPs we've talked about before. That group includes wheelchair staff, aircraft cabin cleaners, and baggage handlers, all of whom are not port employees, but are contractors for airlines. Starting on January 1st, 2025, the program will require airline service providers to make a minimum per hour healthcare contribution for full-time employees. So we're going to do this for 2 years, evaluate that program, and see how it works. It's the first that we've done it, and while similar programs exist at other airports, we think it's a great opportunity to learn and grow and focus on those folks who are doing those jobs over at the airport. We broke ground on Monday on our PDX Community Solar Project with our partners Verde and Bonneville Environmental Foundation. It's enough solar generation to power 200 homes in around PDX and Dignity Village. Very excited about that. Again, I'll send you a few of those details. Also proud to announce this month that we became the first major U.S. airport to fully transition to fluorine-free foam in our fire trucks. We've all read about PFAS. I know we've talked about it here before. Really excited for the work of the operations team, environmental and fire to get us over the line there. In fall of 2023, FAA announced this approval of fluorine-free foam. This is the foam used to put out liquid fires on site. It, until now, has been required to be used. So PFAS, we know, is one of these forever chemicals that we need to do something about. And so just appreciate our team leaning in on that effort. Probably connected, at least connected in part, is the FAA reauthorization, which included some elements to allow for funding of the transition to this fluorine-free foam. Say that 6 times fast. Or ask Dan to do it for you. Dan, I'm going to call you up next time I have to talk about this. The FAA reauthorization also included language that increased the airport infrastructure program funding for resiliency, which is something we're going to hopefully work on for our South Runway resiliency project here over the next few years. So I think while there's some other things on the list, that's probably it for me today, Madam President. I can say we are on target to open PDX Next and the new terminal on August 14th. Very much looking forward to that date. Come hell or high water. I was over yesterday. We still have about 950 people on site every day. It looks incredible. Looking over there at Chris Neal, we're on target. The team's working really well. Safety record is holding up. So the decision to delay for a few months has really served us well on the safety record. I'm just really proud of the team over there. It looks really fantastic. Hopefully everyone's going to be very proud of it. Look forward to celebrating in August.
I think people will be very proud. It's an exciting time. Thank you, Curtis. Any questions for Curtis? Can I get a motion and a second to approve the executive director's report? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Commission members, just for your information, following our meeting this morning, the Multnomah County's Tax Supervision and Conservation Commission meets annually to review our budget, and they will be meeting here at, I think we're scheduled at 10:30. So that's one of the reasons why we're going fast. But you're welcome to stay if you're interested. It's not required. We're going to move now to public comment, and I know we have a couple of people signed up to comment virtually. As always, I want to reiterate this is an important time for the port. We welcome public comment, and it gives us a sense of making sure we know what's going on in terms of port activities impacting the community. We did receive commissioners' written comments from Jim Lubashir, which are in your packet, and he is testifying this morning. And as a reminder for the individuals who I know are very familiar with this, those that are providing testimony this morning, I do ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes, and I will gently remind you as we get to the 2-minute time limit. So we've got 2 individuals. We'll start with you, Mr. Lubashir. Welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, President Coba and commissioners. The recently signed FAA Reauthorization Act contains language now which allows the port to prohibit the sale of leaded avgas at HIO. Now, to do so, the port must make available an FAA-approved unleaded fuel at HIO. And the FAA-approved unleaded G100UL is available and is in production. And I understand that there is a tank available for such a fuel at HIO. To see the language, I have included that in the footnote that I've submitted, in the testimony I've submitted. And the second thing I just wanted to mention, in my last testimony a month ago, I requested the port ask the Aero Academy what their plans were for transitioning to unleaded fuel. And I did not receive any response to that inquiry, nor a response to my other inquiry, asking if the port keeps records of avgas purchased by the Academy. I would again like to request responses to those questions in my May 8th submission. Please include this testimony in the minutes today, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Libisher. And Mickey, good morning. Good to see you, Mickey Barnes.
Good morning, President Koba, members of the commission, thank you for hearing my comments. The history of the FAA's decades-long failure to remove lead from aviation fuel has prompted outcry from innumerable sources, including Rick Durden, senior editor of Aviation Consumer, who penned an article entitled "Unleaded Avgas, Eagle Malfeasance?" The following is a quote from his February 2024 editorial. "Eagle, it's time for you to recognize reality. G100UL avgas works. It is a fleet-wide drop-in replacement for 100LL and is compatible with 100LL. Get rid of your not invented here prejudice. Recognize your fiduciary obligation to the taxpayers. Make G100UL an Eagle fuel. Declare victory and disband," unquote. Just for a little background on Eagle, on February 23rd, 2022, the FAA announced the formation of Eliminate Aviation Gasoline Lead Emissions, an FAA industry partnership. The list of industry partners reads like a who's who of the most egregious leaded aviation fuel polluters in the world. The initiative is led by two co-chairs. Lirio Liu was chosen to represent the FAA. The industry side, however, has had three co-chairs in the less than 2.5 years since the group's inception, all of whom have a long history of benefiting from the promotion and use of leaded aviation fuel. A case in point is the current Eagle co-chair, Kurt Castagna, who also serves as president and CEO of one of Eagle's industry partners, the National Air Transportation Association. According to court documents, on April 30th of this year, he was fired from his position at Aero Lease Associates, a company that operates, leases, and manages hangar space at Long Beach and Van Nuys airports. He's now,
Ms. Barnes, I hate to interrupt. You are at 2 minutes, so if you can.
okay. Well, he's now being sued for damages by his former employer. And please bear in mind that Long Beach is the second most lead polluted airport in the country, and Van Nuys ranks 7th. So in short, what I'm saying here is the port's alignment with Eagle does not well serve this community. And I think, as Jim said, it's time to bring G100UL to the port airports. And also, I just have one question, and that is, I got a call from a port staffer who said that there was going to be a June 20th lead roundtable meeting at HIO, but it's not listed at all on your community events website, and I've seen no public announcements about it. So I'm a little unsure how people are going to participate or know that it's even happening if it gets no press, even on the port's site. So I'll end with that question, and thank you for hearing my testimony. Please, I will send a written submission. Please include it in the minutes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barnes, and we'll make sure we get clarification on a June 20th meeting for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that closes public comment. We have one consent item agenda. Is there any commissioner that would like a presentation on the consent item? Okay, if not, I'm reading the title of the consent item, which is Security Services Contract Amendment, Portland International Airport. And we do have an executive director's recommendation. I'd like a motion and a second to support the recommendation. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Action items. Antoinette Chandler, good morning. Have you come up and introduce the first agenda item?
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, commissioners. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Adams and just say I'm loving the outfit. So thank you all for your time this morning. And we're here in front of you to request approval of Ordinance 482B to issue up to $750 million in tax-exempt bonds to complete the project, Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Terminal Core Expansion Project. And there are a couple of other capital projects that are going to be part of this debt financing. In addition, we seek to, market dependent, have an opportunity to refund some previous bonds. And again, depending upon market conditions, that will also be included as part of this request for your approval for $750 million. With me, I have Travis George, who is our head or director of capital finance and treasury. And I've asked him to walk you all through our plan of finance, and then we'll be available to answer any questions if you have any questions. Before I turn it over to Travis, though, I'd just like to say this moment is a little bittersweet for me because 4 years ago, I came here with the opportunity to raise about $1.5 billion, $2 billion. And this transaction represents the final tranche of that financing. And for folks who love to be in the markets, I think the way that we do, have an opportunity to know that we are raising capital for such a transformational project like the one that we have a chance to be involved with here with the expansion of Terminal Core is just really special. So I thank you all for the support throughout the years, and I'm going to turn it over to Travis and let him tell you all about our final financing for TCOR.
Thanks, Antoinette. Good morning, commissioners. It's been great to be a part of this since I've been here as well. I started just after Antoinette. You can see from the picture that was on the last slide, I had a little bit of color left in my beard when I started, and that's completely gone now. So I think
Love that.
it's maybe taken a little toll on me too. But yeah, so like Antoinette said, we're here to seek approval of Ordinance 482B, bond ordinance authorizing the sale of up to $750 million of revenue bonds in 2 series. Go to the next slide. And so just a reminder for many of you, I know we have some new commissioners, so maybe some new information for you all, but the project is primarily funded through bond issuances like the ones, or like the one that we are requesting approval for. That has provided the bulk of the financing for this project, with the remainder, a relatively small amount coming from the use of passenger facility charge revenues. Next slide, please. And so this is just a recap of all of those financings. As you can see, since 2017, we've issued multiple series of bonds. Most recently in March of last year, just a bit under $500 million. This has funded both the design and the construction of TCOR in that time. And then that bottom line, commercial paper, that has been in between each of those series an interim financing source, and we're using that currently. So since the Series 29 proceeds ran out in January of this year, we've been issuing commercial paper, and the the amount that is outstanding at the time of issuance of the Series 30 bonds will be repaid with those bonds. Next slide. And it's not just T-Core, so there are a few other projects being funded with the bonds. The ground source heating system project, which is actually a $50 million project, but actually was initially part of the T-Core scope. It was removed because we got a grant for to cover a piece of the funding. So that brings the port's share down to 22 million. So really happy about the grant opportunity there. These bonds are also funding the central utility plant HVAC and roof replacement project for 13 million, and then the baggage handling system upgrade project, which the Series 29 bonds actually funded the first half of that project, and these bonds will fund the remainder. And then the remaining piece of new money is the T-Core project. Next slide, please. So this is just a breakdown of the two series and what all of the dollars are going towards. So the Series A is what we call new money. This is going to fund the capital projects that I mentioned on the last slide. That's the bulk of that amount of Series A dollars. The rest is going to repay commercial paper, provide for capitalized interest and contribution to the debt service reserve fund, as well as just pay for the cost of issuance. And then the Series 30B bonds is just a refunding of our currently outstanding Series 22 bonds. We're hoping that the savings of this refunding is going to be somewhere in the $3.5 to $4 million range, which is kind of equates to about a 4.5% to 5% over savings over the remaining life of the bonds. Obviously, that is totally subject to market conditions as of the time of issuance, but that's sort of where we're hoping things lie.
And just a reminder, as part of our debt policy, our minimum threshold for savings is 3%. And so as Travis mentioned, right now, if we were to go out, we'd have savings about 4.75%. But again, that's market dependent.
Next slide, please. As with the Series 29 bonds, the Series 30 bonds will be designated as green bonds by our external partners, Kestrel Verifiers. This is something we first did with the Series 29 bonds, and it just flowed nicely into the Series 30 bonds. A lot of the projects are the same and were already reviewed by Kestrel last time and verified to be able to be considered green. And this really supports our efforts to continue to build out our ESG activities, as well as help continue to support the further development of a green bond, a more robust green bond market in the United States. Next slide. So the schedule, obviously we're here today requesting approval. July 8th, we are going to be meeting with the rating agencies. A few weeks after that, or a couple weeks, I guess, we'll receive the ratings, post the preliminary official statement. Sometime prior to that, I think Antoinette will have a chance to send out the preliminary official statement to you all, so you'll have a chance to review that prior to our due diligence meeting. And then we're targeting an August 7th pricing, and then closing 3 weeks later on the deal. So next slide. So yeah, the executive director recommendation is the enaction of ordinance number 482B in the form presented to commission. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Travis. We do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
We're going to start with Commissioner Luther.
Okay.
Great work, and congratulations. This is fabulous. I just have a question of curiosity, really, on the green bond designation. Is that something that is expected to result in a premium, or does your book run when it comes to pricing, or is that just really opening up for different portfolios and qualifying under different portfolio requirements? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I'll take it, and then Travis can add on to this. So the reality, because this is still emerging in terms of the classification of green bonds in the market, we now have 4 airports that I can name: LAX, Boston, ourselves, Atlanta, JFK Terminal 1, that have issued green bonds. One of the things that is, we don't have, as all those deals have come through the market, we don't have any empirical data that would suggest that by going out with these green bonds that we would achieve a basis point 2 or 3, but improved pricing. But what we did experience with the Series 29 bonds and what we believe will happen in this market as the green bond market is continuing to grow is it expands our investor base. And so that alone, when you think about it from a supply demand standpoint, we want to do everything we possibly can to differentiate and have an opportunity to cast a wider net for investor interest and to improve investor appetite. And that ultimately, if supply and demand works in our favor, should yield some favorable pricing. Can't guarantee it again.
Yeah, right.
The evidence is still to be determined. But the market is tracking this, and so it's just a matter of time. But just wanted to give you a sense of how we think about it.
Thank you.
And if you want to,
I mean, the only other thing that I would add is that it's also just really hard to prove the evidence because you can't issue 2 versions of the exact same bonds and see what the pricing is, or it's very uncommon to be able to do that. So it's just hard to get that evidence, even if it is true that there's a pricing difference.
Yeah, I think it's great. But just one quick question, and then there's a follow-up question. Who does the validation and qualification of a green bond and the tenets of it?
okay.
So it's Kestrel Verifiers. It's a outside consulting firm that focuses on this work and has worked with lots of public finance issuers throughout the country. I believe that they take the green bond standards from an industry organization, International Capital Markets Association, I believe, that kind of provides the underlying basis for what is or is not green.
Okay. Awesome.
Can I just add to that? That's exactly right. And so there are 4 pillars or 4 components that they also consider as part of their evaluation, which is the use of proceeds, how we're using those proceeds applied towards what would be considered green projects or sustainable projects. They also take a look at the process of how we do our evaluation and selection of specific projects to make sure that it's consistent. So when you think about projects that we've done where we have been able to achieve LEED Gold certification, and we're certainly going to be going for that with the T-Core project, an evaluation of how we get to that to make those decisions is part of their criteria, how we just overall management of those proceeds. And then the last one is just the report out. And so we do have, the environmental group does put out an annual report that actually includes our write-up on how we're doing, what we're doing, and how we're doing. We do also have an opportunity to continue to improve the measurements around that. So when we set certain targets, that every year we're going back and just making sure that we're communicating out to the market the progress that we've made. But Kestrel takes a look at those 4 pillars.
Awesome. And just one final question. The recommendation here is up to $750 million. What's the scenario where you wouldn't need to issue the full 750?
We actually don't plan to issue the full 750. That's sort of a wanted to make sure that we have flexibility based on how things turn out, but we actually expect that the issuance will be more like 650 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
And if just maybe another angle to that question, if we experienced, we plan to go out, as Travis said, the first week of August, unfortunate situation when there's major market disruption. That may cause us to either downsize or pull back. But we do have, as Travis mentioned, with this issuance, we'll pay back the roughly $90 million that we think we'll have outstanding, have capacity in this short-term financing of about $300 million that will give us some time if we need it to break this series up in two and go back out to the market. So,
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions? Right. Thank you, Antoinette and Travis. We do need to hold a public hearing on this ordinance. So I will be opening a public hearing on ordinance number 482B. Does any member of the public wish to testify? If not, close the public hearing. And Travis, could you please read ordinance number 482B by title only?
Sure. And this is this long title, right? Yes, this is a long paragraph. Okay.
That's why Travis is reading it, not me.
All right. Ordinance number 482B, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale in one or more series of not more than $750 million of aggregate principal amount of Portland International Airport revenue and refunding bonds to pay or reimburse the port for the payment of the costs of designing, constructing, renovating, acquiring, equipping, and installing improvements at the Portland International Airport, to pay principal and interest due with respect to commercial paper notes previously issued by the port to finance such improvements, to refund outstanding Portland International Airport bonds, to pay cost of issuing the bonds, including interest to accrue on all or a portion of the bonds, to fund authorizing amendments to the Port's Airport Revenue Bond Ordinance number 155 as amended and Airport Revenue Bond Ordinance number 323 as amended, authorizing and providing for related matters and documents.
Does it matter if there was a sentence missed?
Oh, did I miss?
Should I? Just the.
Which one?
I think towards the bottom, including interest to accrue. Blah,
Oh,
blah,
I'm
blah.
out to fund certain reserves
Yes.
and for any other lawful purpose of the port. It's very dense. It's easy to
It
skip
is.
the line here.
I didn't know if we'd get in trouble, so
Okay.
that was wonderful, Travis. Thank you.
I know how to read. Barely.
All right. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the executive director's recommendations and enactment of ordinance 482B? Any further discussion? All right, Commission, on this one, we will do a roll call vote. So I'm going to have Pam read the roll.
Commissioners Adams,
Yes.
Koba,
Aye.
Devon, Johnson, Luther, Nemi, Samput, and Strader. Thank you.
Motion carries. I think I'm supposed to be using this thing. Let's try it. Motion carries. Woo-hoo.
It's fun, isn't
All
it?
right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item, Dan Pippinger. The one item on our agenda today that's been in the news. How exciting. Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning,
It's always good to
Commissioners.
see you.
Welcome, Commissioner Adams. I look forward to meeting you. I'm Dan Pippinger, the Chief Aviation Officer here at the Port. This item is to request your approval to enter into a retail concessions lease with Powell's Books at PDX. As you'll remember, in April of 2023, we brought a slate of 21 retail and food and beverage concessions as part of the Terminal Core project to you. Powell's Books is part of that strategy, but wasn't ready at the time to commit. And as you know, in our strategy for concessions, they're either chosen through a RFP, competitive RFP process, or in sometimes direct negotiations, especially for those that were displaced by the Terminal Core project originally. Here to present the item and ask for your approval is Caitlin Hunter, the Senior Manager of Concessions.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning, Commission, President Kopa. Nice to be here today. Have to say I'm very excited to be presenting this item to you today, as hopefully you all are as well. Having Powell's Books back here at PDX is an institution for us, and we're so excited that they're going to be coming back. So next slide, please. So I just wanted to do a quick reminder of our concessions program goals for those new commissioners we have here today. We strive to maintain the best class airport here at PDX. represent our region authentically. And this, I think you will agree, is one of the pieces of doing that. Deliver what our customers want. We're always trying to reduce barriers to entry, maximize our revenue potential, improve quality of life for the people that work out here, and just strike that balance between current partners and new exciting concepts coming to the airport. Next slide, please. So as Dan mentioned, back in April of 2023, we brought 21 leases to you, and I just wanted to do a quick overview of what that strategy was. 11 of those were directly negotiated, 10 were selected through the RFP process. We have 4 more locations that will be coming to you this fall in a RFP for convenience retail, which is our new stand locations. We have 2 short-term small local business pop-ups that we'll be doing that will also be debuting in August of this year, which we're very excited about. And then Powell's will be the final retail location in the South Hall. We've continued to hear that a bookstore is the item that passengers want that we don't have here at PDX. So we're very happy this will fill that need. And they've been a partner since 1988 here. You know, they had a location way back when we started the Oregon market, and in COVID, unfortunately, they had to shut down, but we're happy to have them coming back. So, next slide, please. So there we go. There is the large location in the South Hall, right as you pass through the South checkpoint, where Powell's will be. Click the slide, please. And just a reminder of all of our locations that will be in TCOR. This is over 2 phases. So the ones that will be debuting in the first phase here in August will be all of the pre-security locations. And then the locations on the west side of both of the halls. So Grassa, Blue Star, Sizzle Pie, Pendleton, Stumptown, Capers, and Oven and Shaker. Those are our first 12 permanent locations. And then you can see in the pre-security locations, Missionary Chocolates and Aurochs Leather are those 2 small business pop-ups that I mentioned. Next slide, please. All of the terms for the Powell's lease are the same as the terms that were presented to you last April for our retail concessions. You can see on the slide here, none of that has changed. Next slide, please. And just for your awareness of the schedule, today's commission, we will actually be doing a kiosk for Powell's, which we will do for many of our phase 2 locations. They'll have a small kiosk in front of their permanent location space that will also debut shortly after TCOR opening, or potentially for Powell's, it might be a little bit later. But folks like Portland Gear, Freeland Spirits, Straightaway Whiskey, those folks will all be they will be having small kiosks that will provide them a presence until phase 2 in Q1 of 2026. So with that, your recommendation is to enter into a lease with Powell's Books at PDX.
Any questions, comments? It's very exciting. Yeah. Commissioner Sampat.
Well, this is more a comment. Really want to thank you in terms of the work that you and your team have done in getting PDX Next kind of fully populated with. I'm looking forward to each of those shops, especially the chocolate RX Missionary. It's an excellent chocolate. So thank you for all the work you've done.
And we're looking forward to you spending your money also.
Well said.
All right, can I get a motion in a second on approval of the executive director's recommendation? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And our last agenda item, Keith. Love it.
Good morning and welcome, Commissioner Adams. You're going to be amazing on this commission. What an amazing group we have. All right, so with me is Dwight Lysel from our Superfund program. It's nothing like the port. You go from concessions to Lower Willamette Superfund issues, and that's the beauty of the diverse businesses that we're all in and that we know and love about the organization. This is an interesting, so there are 17 sites in the Portland Harbor. The port is leaning heavily into 3 or 4 of those sites. This happens to be one of those. They're all under administrative orders with EPA. This was a bit of a unique circumstance where we are doing a friendly break of a contract with a company that was doing excellent work, but the primary staff person moved on to another company, and we are asking for your approval to continue the work forward as scheduled and on budget with another company that is very qualified and frankly finished second in the earlier RFP process for the design work. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let Dwight present the item.
Great. Morning. There we go. Good morning. Today, we are requesting your approval to award a personal service contract to Mal Foster Alonji in the amount of $5 million to complete remaining remedial design services at the Willamette Cove site in the Portland Harbor Superfund site. This new contract will replace the contract previously awarded to GSI Water Solutions. As Keith mentioned, this change in contract was a result of the departure of a key person at GSI. Mal Foster qualified for this work under the unique and specialized knowledge exemption. This change in contract allows for this work to be completed within the current budget and current schedule. This work is being done under an administrative order of consent that the Port and our project partners signed with EPA in December of 2019. The Port is partnering with the City of Portland, the State of Oregon, and the U.S. government to complete this work. The Port and our 3 project partners are each funding equal 25% shares for this work. At this time, I'd like to recognize our project partner who's present today in support of this recommendation. From the City of Portland, our project coordinator, Mr. Kyle Haggard. Next slide. So some of you may recall that we appeared before a commission in October of 2019 to request approval of the original contract to GSI. We appeared again in October of 2023 for an approval of an amendment to that contract. So we're going to keep the background on this project, fairly brief. Willamette Cove is located on the east bank of the Willamette River, approximately in the center of the Portland Harbor Superfund site. Willamette Cove is one of 17 project areas in the Portland Harbor Superfund site that is going through this same remedial design process. The Port's connection to this site was that we owned a portion of the upland in the early 1900s, where we constructed a public common use shipyard. The Port sold our remaining ownership interest in Willamette Cove in 1953. Other businesses and industries operated at this site, but most of those parties no longer exist. The Port, the city, and the U.S. government present some of the only remaining connections to the site past. In January 2020, GSI Water Solutions was selected as our common consultant to perform this work for the Willamette Cove Group. The Port is acting as the contract manager for this work. As Keith mentioned, in March of this year, a key person at GSI, the program manager, who is also our engineer of record, announced that he would be leaving GSI for another consulting firm. This announcement hit our project team pretty hard. We considered all options and moving the project forward. The Willamette Cove Group concluded that the best path forward would be to terminate the GSI contract for convenience and establish a new contract with Mal Foster to complete the remaining remedial design work. MFA brings a team of experienced engineers, scientists, and communication specialists with extensive knowledge of this particular project. They also have experience with other remediation and restoration within Portland Harbor. It's important to note that this change in contract allows us to complete this work within the current budget and current schedule. I also want to say that GSI successfully led this project for 4.5 years. They completed mostly 14 of the 18 required deliverables to EPA. And the port and the Willamette Cove Group want to publicly thank GSI for their hard work and dedication. Next slide. So the scope of this new personal service contract is to provide project management services, perform pre-design investigations as needed, to conduct the remedial design and associated deliverables. And then we're asking them to assist on public engagement and outreach. Just to be clear, this scope of work for the new contract is only for the remaining remedial design actions that GSI has not yet completed. This isn't starting over. This is continuing where GSI left off. Next slide. The original GSI contract was awarded in January of 2020 after a public RFP solicitation process and commission approval. As I said, we're now 4.5 years into this remedial design. With commission action today, the new contract will allow us to complete the remaining remedial design work. We expect completion to be completed sometime in the end of 2025. Next slide. So approximately $6.7 million of the original GSI personal service contract have been expended to date. This new personal service contract will be capped at $5 million. $5 million is approximately the estimate for completing the remaining remedial design work. Other project costs include agency oversight costs for EPA, DEQ, and our tribal government partners. Historically, that's been running about 25% of the total contract costs. Each of our project partners are responsible for their own internal staff costs, which gives us a total estimated budget for this project of just over $14.5 million. Again, the port responsibility is 25% of this. So port contribution, including the port internal staff costs, is estimated to be just under the $4 million shown on the slide. This funding is coming from Port General Fund. Also, I'd like to point out that the small business participation goal for this new contract will be set at 20%, which is in line with what the previous GSI contract was able to achieve. Next slide. So with that, staff is requesting approval of the recommendation as shown. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dwight. Any questions? Commissioner Devon.
Thank you for the update. A quick question around the transition challenges and moving from one supplier to a new supplier, and any sort of special risks that you outlined that we should be keeping our eye on.
Yes, great question. Again, I want to say that MFA is highly qualified for this work, and part of that is some of the individuals that will be working this project from MFA have been involved in this project from its inception. So there's a good familiarity with the project. We've collaborated pretty well, and we hope the transition of existing information files from GSI to MFA will transition pretty quickly and easily.
One quick unrelated question. You mentioned the other project partners, one of which is here in the audience. Yeah. Have they already approved this?
Yeah, absolutely. Process? All of our project partners were part of this decision on this transition plan. I'd also like to recognize the port's legal department has been outstanding in helping us in this transition. So,
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, great update, and I definitely resonate with the challenges of transitioning from one supplier to the next. Since I just landed at the port yesterday, maybe you can give me some context on a 5-year design.
Context on a 5-year design. So are you asking why is it 5 years and why not something shorter?
Yeah, and the fact that design implies one phase of an overall project, and then there's an execution component. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So instead of bogging down the meeting, maybe there's some artifact that I can maybe take a look at, but 5 years seems an awfully long time for a design.
Yes, and one of the, we owe you and we owe Commissioner Adams a full briefing on Superfund Lower Willamette team. We'll get into all of these. I'll let Dwight answer this, but we will definitely give you a full briefing, and we've got plenty of material to download with you.
Yeah, short answer is the Portland Harbor cleanup will take decades. Remedial design is the first part of that process. As we said, Willamette Cove is just one of 17 project areas undergoing this remedial design phase. The duration of those has varied quite a bit between those 17 projects. Willamette Cove will be one of the first of those 70 projects to complete the 100% remedial design. Once that's complete, contracts can be awarded after that to pick up that design and implement the construction of that remedy. There will have to be some coordination and all of that. But the Portland Harbor Record of Decision that was issued in 2019 indicated that it would be about a 13-year cleanup. I would expect it probably to be longer. So.
Thanks for that. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll just add, we'll get a briefing up for the two of you, and just very broadly, one sentence here in our last few minutes of a commission meeting, but our strategy very broadly on Superfund, which has been going on for 20 years, is to grab the things that the port can handle, the things that we can access and have some control over, and engage in those very aggressively to try to resolve essentially the book of our challenges, as opposed to some of the other folks in the river who've tried to avoid those issues. Willamette Cove is one of those where it felt like we can engage with our partners. We know and trust our partners well. And so this is one of those, but we'll get you guys a briefing. It is, I mean, the time scale on these things is mind blowing, and the money.
Thank you, President Koba. A question related to this, I think this is a site that the community is looking forward to being able to access better and utilize to get to the river. And so what do you think the timeline is for those improvements where, it's more publicly accessible?
Yeah, great question. So Willamette Cove is unique in that not only are we doing a remedial design for the in-water portion of this site, but the upland property, which is currently owned by Metro, is about 24 acres of a vacant site. And it really presents a unique opportunity, as you said, for enhancing habitat, providing public access to the river. Metro has a vision to turn this property into a future nature park. So it's important that we complete both of these projects in combination with each other so that both of the projects can move forward with cleanup at about the same time, because there's opportunities for cost savings if we do that. So we're again expecting to have these remedial designs complete for each of these projects complete in 2025. We know who will be performing the cleanup of the upland. The port will be partnering with Metro to do that cleanup. Again, we would like to do that in coordination with the in-water work, and that becomes a little more clouded. Performing parties have not been decided for the in-water cleanup to implement this remedial design that we complete. So there's a little bit of uncertainty exactly when that might start. But, we're hopeful we can move forward with, Metro's vision of a nature park soon after remedial design is complete.
Any other questions or comments?
Just one comment. Thank you for your work, and both the same thing with the legal team. I know that's really difficult to make a transition like this. It can be a little bit on the disruptive side, but this is such an important thing for the community as a whole moving forward, to take something that is contaminated, to rejuvenate it, to be a part of the community, that becomes an asset for the long term. So thank you for your hard work.
On behalf of the commission, we'd also like to thank GSI for their work, being a great partner. All right, call for a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. 1 minute late.